Hello. So today, after a long hiatus, I wanted to talk about something that I've talked about before, a thing that I've relearned. And it was after reading the book called Emotional Intelligence. I'm still reading it, but after initially reading some of the pages, I came to realize of this separation between the thinking brain and the emotional brain. So let me try to, and then also how we can observe this emotional brain and then react or act based off of what we observe and what we uh, reason to be the best option moving forward. But let's first start off with this separation between the thinking brain and the emotional brain. And I said this before, I reworded it before as the thinking and the monkey mind because it feels like the monkey mind. But I think a better technical way of putting it is the thinking brain and the emotional brain. And what this is, so the emotional brain, what we can think about it is our initially developed brain in evolution. So this is the brain that initially we had during our primal phases of evolution. So it's part of the spine and also limbic system. And you can think of this as so the spine and the reptilian is kind of the reptilian, and the limbic is like the start of more mammals and also apes. And from my understanding, very superficial level of understanding, is that these parts of the brain help us act on instinct. And emotions are evolutionarily have developed through evolution to give us a quick, immediate response to our environment so that we may better survive. And the difference between some species like the human and the reptile or the mammal is that these, or even separation between animals and humans, is that animals, when they feel these emotions, when they feel these instincts, feel these emotions or have these bodily processes that happen, or are neurotransmitters or hormones that are produced in the brain. When these things happen, they don't have the capability to react, or not to react, but observe these emotions. Their only, let's say, tool to deal with this is instinct. It is to act on this emotion. It is to act on these feelings. It's to act on these neurotransmitters and these hormones that are flooding the body, or the different way the body is acting. Like, for example, one thing I found that was really interesting in emotional intelligence is that whenever we feel anger, or animal feels anger, the blood is rushed to the brain, but also to the palms, because the hands, because as it is the body telling the hands to go grab something, to go defend yourself. So with this example, an animal would immediately go and grab something, or go and grab a weapon, or go and grab something to protect themselves. And that is the emotional mind that is working. What is beautiful is about the human species is we don't just have this emotional mind, we also have a thinking mind. So this thinking mind can observe what is happening, is have this self awareness to observe these processes in the body. So when blood is being rushed to the hands, we can observe this feeling, and then we can also label this feeling and understand it, and also not to act on it. So if we have this feeling, most of the time we call it anger, right? But I can, as with my thinking mind, label it however I want to. So I don't necessarily need to say this is anger when this is happening. I can say, no, blood is just rushing to my hands and I'm feeling this sort of way. And that's the power of the thinking mind. And the realization, the realization I had today is that we as humans have this almost superpower to be able to observe these emotions, to observe our emotions, to observe our bodily processes, our neurotransmitters, what is happening to us, and then decide how to act afterwards. After this observation. I think Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, well, I know he does talk about this, and this is one of the main points in his book, is the space in between stimulus and response, and how stimulus, we'll say, the emotional mind, and the response, the thinking mind, has that space in between it, the observation space. And if we always react with this stimulus without even observing it, giving it no space, then there is no space in between the emotional and the thinking mind, or stimulus and response. We are just driven by our stimulus, our emotional mind. But it takes practice to start opening up to separate our emotional mind from our thinking mind, and to say, okay, I'm feeling this emotion right now. Let me just stop. But not necessarily just stop. Whenever you're first trying to separate this, it's nice to have tools under your belt to be able to deal with this. And one of the ways you can deal with it is to breathe. And if your emotional mind and your thinking mind are so much like this, it's amazing just to be able to stop and breathe a little bit, so you can attach yourself to your breath. Of course, this takes practice as well, but it's a nice tool to be able to help you start to separate this. And I think that's the important thing to get out of this, is that you, as a human being, are capable of observing your emotions, of being a judge to if these emotions can serve you in the best way, or how you can use these emotions to your best benefit, or when the emotion doesn't serve you. That's the beauty of being a human being, and that is the beauty you have with your thinking mind and your emotional mind working together in tandem. So that's just something I wanted to touch on. Good night. I don't know when I'll see you again, but Stay classy, okay?